Hi, this is Ken Boa, and I want to welcome you to this edition of Explorers. And when we consider explorers, we're looking at my friend Leanne Martin, who is writing this series called Glimpsin'. And I'm going to ask you all about that because she is a co-lover of beauty. And so I want us just to explore that together, what that looks like. And so tell us about what is your history with this love of beauty that you've got, because you seem to have what I love to see, a combination of both the arts as well as the created order.
Yes, well, I have been writing about beauty for quite a while, and beauty came to me as a part of a big time of grief in my life. Before that, I had not really paid a lot of attention to beauty, just being busy and that sort of thing. But in college, I took a music appreciation class, an art appreciation class. My degree is in literature, so I did love beauty. I just hadn't made a practice of it.
Yes.
But during a time in my life where my life was turned upside down through divorce, beauty seemed to, and God in beauty seemed to reach out to me and pull me to Him, draw me to Him. And that is when it became so much more alive to me. It's like my senses were awakened to beauty all around me. I just wanted to fill up on it. And the beauty that I was experiencing, whether it was a neighbor's crabapple tree or a symphony or a play, that beauty that I was experiencing, it was as if my senses were awakened in a new way, awakened to the world, to the beauty around me, but also to the Lord. It felt as though it was a way that God was reaching out to me and drawing me to Him.
Yes, that's intriguing. By the way, I had a similar experience because when I went to the Case Institute of Technology, I was in the sciences and so forth, but I deliberately took courses in music appreciation and art history for the kind of similar reasons. So I've always been somewhat drawn to beauty in the natural world and so forth. But tell me how it was, though, that grief would drive you to beauty. That's an interesting thought, the combination.
Yes, well, it was not anything certainly that I had planned, but it was a dark time in my life, difficult time. I was a single mom with a 2-year-old, and it just felt like there was a dark cloud following me around. But during that time, it was wintertime, and it was approaching spring, and I was noticing that the daytime hours were lengthening, and there was talk of spring coming sometime soon. And next door, the neighbors had a crabapple tree that was just starting to bloom. And I could see that tree from my kitchen window when I was doing the dishes. I could see it from my driveway, from the yard when I was out playing with my daughter. And there was something about that tree. It was the beauty of the tree, the pink blooms unfurling like a fist coming open.
Yes.
And just the sense of I had never noticed it before. I would have thought it was, dead, I guess, or dormant or whatever. Suddenly it is starting to awaken and become alive. It had been alive, just in front of my very eyes. And it felt like it bloomed for a long time, and it felt like a metaphor or an image for my own life of the Lord showing me your winter that you have been in for so long is almost over, and spring is coming. Spring is coming in your life. And it became this big, important image to me, and it still does. I still think back to that tree, and there were other things, but that tree in particular, in terms of my grief, it was as if God made that tree bloom for me to show me, I see you. I see you. I'm with you. And it will not always be this way. And there's a sense of hope, I think, inherent in beauty anyway.
Yes.
Particularly natural beauty.
Yes, natural beauty, because although it's a fallen world, yet it anticipates greater things to come that will not be in a fallen world. I sometimes use, as you know, the metaphor of this being a caterpillar or cosmos, and that a butterfly, emerge into the butterfly it's going to become. even our experiences of space and time will be different. But given that, this crabapple tree was like an image then of the cycles and the seasons of birth and growth. But then there's decay and there's death, but then there's a resurrection. And so the spring becomes like a resurrection season for you, and that was a resurrection.
Exactly. Calls to mind the seasons mentioned in Ecclesiastes,
Yes.
a time to mourn and a time to dance. And I was coming into, it's not that I was completely healed or whatever, but I could see a brighter future.
Yes.
I could see that God would turn all of this into something of beauty, which he absolutely did.
Yeah. In your glimpses, I saw your crabapple tree that you pulled out and emphasized, because it's so extraordinary. It draws us if we have the eyes to see. And we've talked about this before, where my view of nature is God's ordained the created order in such a way that everything in it points beyond itself to moral and spiritual truth to those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Why do you think most people don't see it?
I think we are all just too busy. I think we are distracted. There's so many things, whether it's the phone in our pocket or the news or our families, our career. There's just so many distractions, and I think it's busyness. One of my neighbors is actually a reader of Glimson, and she was talking about, my life is passing by me at a dizzying speed, and I just don't see the beauty. I don't take the time to enjoy the life. It's just going by so fast.
Yes.
And so I think that the ugliness, of course, that we see in the world also is a distraction. It certainly can color our outlook and bring in a sadness or even a fear. And what I do with beauty, what you do with beauty, is show the alternate, show what we have at our disposal if we just open our eyes and our hearts and our ears to what is there already.
Yes. So that combination of seeing a kind of a hope and looking at it as a drawing kind of a dynamic that points beyond itself to something greater and richer and good, and something that's going to be permanent and good.
Exactly. It points to something else, to someone else.
So you've been a writer for a long time. Tell me about that. What inspired you to write, and what that looks like for you? Glimpses of Hope, Meditations on a Life with Jesus. And it's a collection of your articles about walking with Jesus.
Yes. So I started out as a writer when I was 8 years old. I did short stories about this set of twins that solved mysteries. And then through the years, just continued writing. It was fiction then, and then all through high school and into college. I just loved nonfiction writing, prose, and that sort of thing. One of my early jobs was editing for a ministry in town and then became one of their writers, a freelance writer.
I see.
And so the essays in that book are a collection of the ones that were published when I was writing for that ministry.
For that ministry.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. So that gave you an experience in the history. Yeah.
It did.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you make space for beauty? And how would you tell people who are, as you say, so preoccupied with the grind, the constant push and press that we have upon us? What things do you tell people to do that they need to consider importing into their own calendar?
Yes. There's so many ways, and they don't have to be big ways.
Yeah.
Just walking into your house, I see beauty everywhere, and you have brought it into your house in many ways. Also, just taking a walk in the neighborhood. There's so many studies out right now that talk about the health benefits of walking in nature, being in nature, and even just looking at images on your screen, which with the Museum of Creative Beauty,
right.
I'm sure, just the images of nature on the screen. So I would say take a walk. I would say go to a park, go to a museum, an art museum. You can go with no prior knowledge or experience, or you can study a little bit and then go. I would say invite a friend. I would say bring children if it's appropriate, like to a park or something like that, so that they can share that experience with you. I have found so many times, and C.S. Lewis talks about this, I believe, in Weight of Glory, that when we see beauty, the experience is wonderful on our own, but sharing it with someone else is a completion of that experience. And so if you go by yourself, certainly, but if you have someone go with you, it can deepen that experience and enrich it. And that's why I love sharing about the beauty that I see, because it enlivens me again. As I write about it, I'm experiencing first, and then I'm writing about it, and I enjoy it again, and am able to share with other people.
Yes.
I would also say that a lot of times the beauty that I have seen, that I've taken the most pictures of, is trees and flowers in a parking lot, for instance. I have a lot of parking lot beauty photos, things like that. You can incorporate these things intentionally, which I would encourage people to do.
Yes.
But you can also just intentionally make yourself more aware of what you are seeing. And if that means driving a different route on the way home on your commute, or going to a neighbor's garden. We are so fortunate living here in Atlanta that we have so much natural beauty here with the river and the parks. There are other places anywhere where someone might live that they could go and look at beauty. Another thing which I know you love is music, just listening to music that moves you. So many times we have gone to the symphony. We've also done the candlelight concerts with string quartets, and it is just so moving to hear that music. And it's a different experience of beauty. It inspires us, but it also makes our thinking, or sends our thinking to a higher plane, a higher level. And it helps us to aspire to more.
Yes.
And that's what I love about
An aspiration for more, yes. And music has a draw, and it speaks to us in a deeper level, too. This is why the Psalter, the Psalms were set to music, because they speak to the emotional depths and so forth. So I find myself doing something very similar, where I'm often going to have images of nature, and I have collections. On the microcosm and the midicosm and the macrocosm, and so I have collections of these beautiful images. And sometimes I'll play music to that, and then see that, and the combination is very good. And then occasionally I might also then throw in a scripture and look at that and meditate on the scriptures. Now I'm kind of multiplying it as well. So you've got the music, you've got the natural beauty in the created order, and then the scriptures, the beauty of holiness, which is a lovely thing to do. But you're quite right. Just getting out of ruts and trying something new. Have you been to Gibbs Gardens? I'm just curious. Yeah, isn't that it's something I share with friends? Because you're right, beauty is meant to be shared.
It is.
Tell me about your experience there.
We have been season pass holders for the last couple of years, I would say. So we try to go every major part of the spring and summer and early fall season. And so we've gone enough times now that we know what we're going to see, and we anticipate that. Yes. And my husband will say, the daffodils are starting, or in the fall, the Japanese garden, the reds in the garden, just
splendid.
And there's a yellow tree there. It's in my head right now. It's just so golden and so beautiful in the fall, the colors of the leaves, but also the changing of the light, the sunlight above and the angle. Yes, all of that.
I've taken a lot, as I guess you have, a lot of photographs there.
Yes.
And shared it with dear friends. And there's something about shared beauty where you go and see together and look at that and pause and look. And I have a couple of friends who, like me, look more they want to look at the leaves, they want to look at the details and so forth, and we just kind of get into that together. It's a glorious time to do so.
It is. And I had no idea there were that many types of daffodils. I just had no idea. And they look the same in some ways, but they're just a little bit different, and it's just captivating.
Yeah, and then in the meadows and with the dahlias and there are just so many wonderful combinations of colors and so forth that they just these wonderful meadows and colors there as well. So
That's true.
So choosing to make a special trip to do that, or go to a concert or whatever, becomes an intentional act.
Right, and you probably should put it on your calendar.
Yeah,
I have
that's
found.
the thing.
Yeah, put a stake in the ground and
Yeah.
put it on your calendar, order the tickets, all of that if
Yeah.
you need to. Yeah.
But beauty's meant to be shared, and that's I see you do that well. In your bio, you were mentioning that enjoy having people over for tea, and I
Yes.
bet you look around at the natural world there too, and the things that are around your house. And so
Yes,
forth. Yeah.
I do. We're about a mile or two from the river.
Oh, good.
We're in a woodsy neighborhood,
Oh, good.
and we see so much different types of
Yeah.
wildlife and birds, and yeah, it's just a gorgeous place to be.
There's the created beauty of God, and then there's the creative beauty of our response to God's order in the arts and in science and in music and so forth. But then there's also another kind of beauty, a shared beauty, a relational beauty, what you might call corporate beauty, so that you share that beauty together, the beauty of holiness. And connecting those three beauties can become mutually enhancing.
Yes, that is so true. And I have found in conversation with friends who know the Lord, there's so many different levels to beauty. And going to see art or going to a symphony or whatever, just that is another level. We are co-creators with God. Even those of us who don't feel creative, there are things that we can do to be co-creators with God, and it could be gardening or cooking, making something good to the glory of God.
Yes, bringing something. We're gardeners, and we garden the mysteries of God because we can't understand the mysteries in the created order. A leaf, let alone an insect or a butterfly, or a bird, but yet we garden these things. We put them in order and sequence and make them beautiful.
Right.
And so there's a participatory sub-creation or co-creation, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. And there's a delight when things actually grow
Yeah.
and bloom and they don't die. Yeah.
Yeah. It gives me pleasure because we have a garden, as you see. I'll show you a couple things when we go out. But every season has its joy. And it's even in this season where it's not what it normally is, it's about to explode. But even there, though, I see the beauty in very small things that are more subtle. Now our daffodils have just come out and so forth. Mm-hmm. Then what's to come, and there's a sequence and a cycle of beauty that we can anticipate.
Right, and it seems like every week there's some new thing that is blooming or opening or waking up. Yeah.
Tell me more about Glimpson then, and about your readership and your responses and so forth, and what you seek to do in that.
Yes, I have found that my readers are very faithful, and they have left comments such as, you paint beauty with words and images, you provide a place of serenity, you give me a place to go and escape the ugliness outside, you have inspired me to look for beauty in my own life. One of them said, which I loved. And then I have people that will text me if they know me or message me with a photo and say a photo of beauty that they have seen. And they will say, this reminded me of you. This reminded me of Glimpson. Thank you for opening my eyes to the beauty around me.
Yeah. How do people access Glimpson? Let them know.
Yes. So the website is glimpson.net. That's GLIMSEN.net. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Glimpson.
Yeah, that's good. So that you can share that beauty with others. Then sometimes it'll speak deep to the heart, though, and you'll get some people who resonate with that, especially in times of grief and difficulty, as was in your case, that God gave you his grace of approaching you and kind of romancing you with that beauty that he's got. That sense of, look, there's more to this, and this seems to be the end, but really, as we look in the natural world, the best is yet to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Beauty is a pointer. It's not
pointer, yes.
As wonderful as amazing as a dahlia is. It's not just the flower. It's who is behind it, and the joys and delights untold. That is so huge. We don't worship the creation, the nature, or the beauty. We worship the one who brought it about.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was Oswald Chambers who said, nature to a saint is sacramental. So there's this whole idea of, in the sense that it's an outward and visible sign of an inward and invisible reality, and or grace. in this case, and that grace is manifested. Again, even though fallen, we can see it creates a longing. Sometimes I want to just go inside that dahlia or inside that plant and just zoom down. It would be a lovely way to be able to go down to the cellular level and so forth. I have a suspicion that we'll be able to do that in our resurrected bodies.
Yes, that sounds wonderful. And that reminds me of that quote by C.S. Lewis, Weight of Glory, where he talks about we don't want to just see it, we want to bathe in beauty.
Yeah.
And we want to just somehow become part of it.
Yeah. Want to enter in.
We do.
And every leaf of the New Testament, it tells us that it's going to be so, that one day we will enter in into the heart of all things.
Right.
You see, it points to something, because we have to ask, because the greatest question of his life was, to find out where does this beauty come from?
Right.
And it's always intriguing to me how even atheists and others may resonate with beauty, but they never ask where it comes from.
Right. I agree. And I just think there's no way that this could be an accident. This is obviously so much more. The variety, the order, all of that. None of the beauty that God has created did he have to create. He could have made everything gray and boring and dull.
No, that's right.
But he's given us a rainbow of colors. He's given us, from a cheetah to a bearded dragon, trees and shrubs that bloom once a year, desert flowers that bloom one night and then they're gone forever.
Yes.
Yeah, all of that. Amazing.
Yeah. I sometimes look at these shows like Tiny World and others as well that are wonderful things just to, oh my word, I had no idea. And you're just looking about these creative things that you never even dreamed of that actually exist in the natural world. Mm-hmm. And what'll it be like, I often wonder about, in a resurrected cosmos where there will be no fall, and our relationship with animals or with plants, and not to speak of our relationship with one another and all that. I think it's going to be grand and glorious. Our great desire is what we see here. It's just a hint.
I think so too. What a great hope we have.
That's a great hope. Yeah. It enhances my aspiration. And so encouraging people to share beauty, to show, I have music playlists I sometimes share with people, and I have photographs I've collected. I know you have as well. And just any way I can collect these, I'm an inevitable curator of beauty. I by myself a kind of a curator of art and of beauty, gardening beauty in that way. So having a greater desire for what is to come is a greater vision.
Yes, and I think it's so important that people that love beauty and that are aware of it point to it. Just point to that and to the hope that we have that there is more.
Yeah. So making places and spaces for that, and you've given some good suggestions, not just walks, but they're nature walks, they're beauty walks, they're and prayer walks. And what do we learn from God as we look at these things and enhancing our vision and using our sensory apparatus? Imagine, I often think about the resurrection now, because as I'm getting older, I'm thinking more about home, which is as it ought to be. But I imagine all five senses that we have here, and all of them are going to be much more amplified than they are now. Imagine, for example, being able to see infrared or ultraviolet as we may be able to do. We would see new primary colors.
Right.
It's an amazing thought.
Same.
Who knows what we'll see, but it's going to be, if this is good, wait till you see what's to come.
Right.
And that gives me hope. So I find myself living more with that hope. Also, choosing gratitude, to be grateful. So in tough times, you see, gratitude, contentment, and joy are choices, aren't they?
They are choices. And I found that the more beauty I saw, the more grateful I was. And more the sense of gratitude in most areas of, in other areas of my life.
Yeah.
Thank you, God, for your goodness to me. Thank you for this beauty. Thank you for the truth of your word.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Yeah. So to share beauty with loved ones is a great thing to do. And because then it becomes bigger. My wife Karen and I were just last night thinking about, we were watching a show that we both like, but it was in the Yorkshire Dales, and it was. It reminded us of a trip we'd taken there, and we just imagined going back to that moment and seeing that. But those are hints, those moments of beauty and of adventure and intimacy are hints of even better goods to come. So it's not a question of remorse or regret, gosh, I wish I could go back, but rather, I think those great experiences we had are hints of better things to come.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
As wonderful as they were, they will be so much more.
So much more.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely thing that we both enjoy those things and share those things together. And I enjoy when I'm walking with people to point out architecture and nature and how to look at things, how to look at nature in a different way and with new eyes and fresh ways of seeing it, don't you?
Yes, I have. And things that I never would have noticed before or thought interesting have just pulled my eyes. There are several trees in our neighborhood. There's one that has a heart on the trunk, and it was somehow made when the tree was damaged or when a limb fell. And just seeing that has pulled me aside to make me think about that.
Yes.
There's so much unexpected beauty out there that just makes me stop and wonder.
That's why I like what you were saying about parking lots and places
Yeah.
like that, seeing it even in those places.
And one place that I will never forget, many years ago, Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980. Many years ago, we went out, we were in the Pacific Northwest anyway, in Portland, decided to go and check it out. And I just could not get over what a wasteland it was, dark and gray, the landscape. But yet there were little green shoots that were pushing up through that death and decay. And it showed, there is life, even in a dark, gray, devastated landscape.
Yes.
There is life. And later on, that brought me quite a bit of comfort during the hard times that I experienced.
Yeah, it's like a metaphor.
It was a metaphor for my life at that time.
Yeah. What are your anticipations of what you would like to accomplish as you look at the days ahead? What are your kind of dreams or aspirations? Yeah.
I would love to continue what I'm doing, writing about beauty. I would love for it to reach more people. I love to speak and have spoken about beauty. I'd love to do more of that. But
More of that.
yeah, just studying it more, perhaps learning a little bit more specifics, going deeper into some of the composers that I love.
Yes.
Some of the science. I don't have a science background, so maybe doing a little bit more research into that and just seeing where the Lord takes me.
That's good. But always being open as a learner.
Yes.
Constantly being that second, what I call the second naivete. The first
Right.
the first naivete is childishness.
Yes.
But then you move to childlikeness and a childlike wonder.
Exactly.
And curiosity. And you see things that most people don't even notice. They don't seem to have cultivated this capacity of wonder.
Wonder is so important.
Yeah.
Having that childlike wonder, and it can be so much more powerful, I think, as we age and become, is just having that response to the world around us of wonder and wanting to know more, wanting to experience more.
And how the wonder is a pull toward the source of wonder as well. And so the immersion in that becomes an experience that connects us with the one who made it and made us as well. Because there's beauty in nature, there's mathematics in the natural world, and some people are saying, well, is the math, are we imposing the math, or is it actually there, whether we see it or, I think it's both, because he's the one who made the mathematics and made the beauty and so forth, whether the Fibonacci series or the golden ratio and all the other components, the now recently discovered Mandelbrot sets and so forth, things we didn't even know about, mathematical infinitudes that point beyond to things, and we're now seeing things we never even knew existed before, and chaos theory and other things of that sort. But when we look at that, we realize we are also bearers of the image of the one who made that. And therefore we can see it because he's made us that way. And so we have a capacity to see what he's already embedded in the natural world. It's a both and. It's in nature, but we're seeing it. We're not imposing it. We're realizing it.
Right.
And then when we explore it together, we reveal it, we release it to people and help them see it in a richer way. I think that's what you're trying to do, is to take those truths, that beauty, those things that we have a natural draw to, if we can train ourselves and give people a greater appetite.
Right, exactly. And make it part of their lives and share it with others as well. Science is catching up with us in terms of knowing and studying the health benefits behind wonder and awe and nature.
Yeah.
Improved cognitive thinking and improved heart rate, things like that. These are things that don't come as a surprise probably to us, but how wonderful that science is proving that these things are important. They're
Yeah.
important to the whole body, the whole being.
That's right. It's a healthy thing to see that the eye gate and using that beauty itself, but also music and also meditation, our own the combination of those three are demonstrably salutary for our health. They enhance our health in many ways because they put us in the right place and connect us with what we should be thinking about, and takes away anxiety and stress as well.
Right.
A very powerful thing to
It
do.
is.
So this is good. I've enjoyed our time together. It's been a great joy. But you're a fellow traveler in the realm, in the land of beauty and music and art and literature and all those things that draw us ever toward home and to the wellspring of all those beauty. Where does it all come from?
Mm-hmm.
And then sharing that, the closer we get to the one who made it all, the closer we get to one another as well.
That's true.
So there's a lovely connection there as well.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ken. It
God
was a
bless.
pleasure.
Thank you.